Joining me right now to discuss it is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. He sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee and is a constitutional scholar who clerked for former Supreme Court Justice William Rehnquist. Senator, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning, Maria. It's great to be with you.
First, are you expecting a Senate vote this week and next, and what would be the result in your view?
Well, I think it's likely we'll have a vote in either this week or next, and Schumer, in all likelihood, will bring back the same bill that we voted on earlier. That bill failed. You know, it's interesting. He calls it a bill to codify Roe versus Wade, but that's not, in fact, what the bill does. It is a radical abortion bill, which sadly reflects where today's Democrats are. The bill that we voted on last time is a bill that would strike down every reasonable common sense restriction on abortion across the country. It would strike down restrictions on partial birth abortion. It would strike down restrictions on late-term abortion. It would strike down restrictions on taxpayer funding. It would strike down parental consent and parental notification laws. And the amazing thing is that today's Democratic Party on the issue of abortion has gone to the extreme left, like they've done on economics, embracing socialism, like they've done on the border, embracing open borders. You know, you take an issue like late-term abortion. Only 6% of Americans support abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. That is the position of today's Democratic Party. That is what we're going to vote on. It's going to fail. He's not going to get the 60 votes he needs. He knows that. That is satisfying the left-wing constituency in the Democrat Party. And I got to say, Maria, we are a long, long way from when Bill Clinton was president. In the State of the Union, he said he wanted abortion safe, legal, and rare. Now, I didn't agree with that statement then, but he was at least recognizing that abortion is something that he wanted rare. Today's Democratic Party doesn't believe that. They openly celebrate abortion as a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, you go back to what Andrew Cuomo, former governor of New York, did by saying no restrictions whatsoever could happen until the ninth month. You also heard a similar sentiment this past week from Tim Ryan in Ohio. Since we're on the substance issue here, let's stay here because I want you to explain what this draft opinion says. It by no means says that the abortion will be illegal up until a certain point, right? It's up to the states is what this draft opinion is suggesting. Talk about that, because I want to get into other issues, and that is including the bullying and who leaked this to begin with. But first, stay on the substance of this right now.
Well, sure. The draft opinion, we don't know what the final opinion will be, but the draft opinion was written by Justice Sam Alito, and it's a masterful opinion. It is careful, it is scholarly, it is historical. It walks through how, for the first 185 years of our nation's history, the question of abortion was decided by elected legislatures, decided primarily at the state level. And listen, we all recognize abortion is an issue that is deeply personal, that is deeply emotional, and it's an issue on which Americans are sharply divided. There are very, very different views on what the appropriate rules should be. And for the first 185 years of our nation's history, we resolved those in the elected legislatures. Then in 1973, 7 unelected lawyers wearing black robes said, you silly voters, you don't get to decide. We know better than you, and we're going to decree the answer for the entire country. And I think that decision in Roe really caused an enormous amount of anger and frustration for the tens of millions of people who passionately care about this issue, who've been engaged in this issue. You had these unelected judges saying your views don't matter and there's no outlet for you to fight for them. If, in fact, the court does overturn Roe, as you said, the result is not that abortion is illegal across the country. The result is that it's up to the people, that it's up to democracy. Now, that will mean in bright blue states, in states like New York and California, at least for the immediate future, we'll continue to see unlimited abortions on demand because that's where their elected politicians are. In redder states like my home state of Texas, we'll see some meaningful restrictions. And the restrictions will vary state by state, and they will reflect the values and the mores of the citizens in each state. And that's exactly how the framers of the Constitution intended it. And Justice Alito's draft opinion explains that this returns the issue to the people so that we, the people, can decide what the right answer is.
Yeah, I want to move on and get your take on who leaked this and the process with which anybody could have access to such information. We've got a graphic here of the justices who were nominated by a Republican president and then the justices nominated by a Democrat president. You were a law clerk for Justice Rehnquist. You know who has access to this. Tell us who you believe could have leaked this, or whether or not this is a small pool, and if we're going to find out. There is an investigation underway, correct?
Correct. So but let's start off with who has access to this opinion. It is a very small pool of suspects. The court itself is a small institution. It's a big building, but small institution. In terms of who has access to opinions, you've really got the 9 justices. And I do not believe any justice did that. I think it would be unimaginable for a justice to do this. And then you've got 36 law clerks. Each justice has 4 law clerks. You might have a secretary or a clerical assistant, but realistically, it's not somebody like that, because the leaker also knew confidential information about how the justices voted at conference. That is held incredibly close hold within the Supreme Court. When I was a law clerk for Chief Justice Rehnquist, the rules were the same as they are now, which is you do not take opinion drafts out of the building. All of the work is done in the building. That means midnight, 1 o'clock. The law clerks are all there working at their desks. When you finish with a draft, every law clerk has under his or her desk a burn bag. It's a brown and red bag. You put it in there. That burn bag is later sealed. It's shredded. And in fact, it's shredded twice. It's shredded horizontally, it's shredded vertically, and then it's burned. That's the level of confidentiality that clerks are taught to protect the decision-making of the court. It is almost certainly one of those 36 law clerks, and I think it is almost certainly one of the 12 law clerks that are clerking for the 3 liberal justices. That is a small suspect pool. Beyond that, look, you and I have both known a lot of Supreme Court clerks. Many of them are book smart. Very few of them are street smart. I'm confident we don't have a master criminal working at the court. I think they're going to be electronic records. They're going to be emails or texts, or there's going to be personal meetings between one of those 12 law clerks and the reporters at issue here. There are also, the Supreme Court has pretty serious security measures that designed forensically to ascertain where an opinion was printed, what printer produced it. So I believe this investigation is going to uncover the leaker, and I think it's going to do so relatively quickly.
So who do you think it is?
So I think it's one of those 12 law clerks, and this is the culmination of a multi-year campaign from Senate Democrats to politicize and destroy the court. And it's had many aspects. It featured Chuck Schumer standing on the steps of the court, calling out justices by name, threatening to unleash the whirlwind, that they won't know what hit them if they don't vote the way Schumer wants. That's incredibly destructive to the court. It features Senate Democrats threatening to pack the Supreme Court to add 4 left-wing justices immediately and grow it to 13 justices. And I think what happened here is you had some left-wing woke twit who decided that he or she was so upset that they were going to violate the trust they owe to their justice, to the court, to the rule of law. And Maria, it is difficult to overstate just how destructive this is to the court. It's the most serious breach in the history of our nation. The court depends on trust to be able to deliberate and decide. And this partisan activist who's going to be caught, who will be fired, who will be disbarred, and I hope who will be criminally prosecuted, decided to destroy the court instead.
Yeah, and the activism continues. I mean, we only have 30 seconds here, Senator, but did you want to say anything about the idea that you've got people outside people's homes trying to bully and change thinking?
Well, that was the intent of this clerk. We've got left-wing groups now that have published the addresses of justices. The intent of this clerk was to bully and threaten and intimidate the justices to changing their votes. And I got to say this week, it was shameful that the White House refused to condemn violent protesters threatening the families of the Supreme Court. It is disgraceful. And Joe Biden used to be chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Joe Biden knows it's disgraceful. He's literally threatening the lives of these justices by the mob they're unleashing. It's the same thing we saw with Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots, where the left embraced them, and now they're embracing mob violence to get their partisan outcome.
Really disheartening. When you come back, Senator, you'll have to talk about your questioning Anthony Blinken. I thought was masterful. Senator, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here.